Welcome to Hardcore Haunter.
This channel is proudly created in part by AI technology.
Welcome back to the graveyard. I'm your host, Vincent Vesper. Today we're going to dig into the history and spine-chilling of what I believe to be one of the world's greatest prop builders. So sit back and pull up a tombstone and light some candles as take a journey into the twisted mind of Ed Edmunds of Distortions Unlimited. Imagine, if you may, a nondescript warehouse by the train tracks in Greeley, Colorado. Monsters are born. Not the stuff of nightmares, but the creations of dreamers artisans who sculpt fear into foam and latex. This is the story of Distortions Unlimited, a company that's been making monsters for nearly half a century. At its heart is Ed Edmunds, a man who traded a motorcycle for a barrel of latex and built an empire of screams. From a one-room apartment to a global powerhouse in Halloween props, this is a tale of grit, imagination, and the relentless pursuit of the perfect scare. It all began in 1978 in a two-bedroom apartment in Greeley. Ed Edmunds wasn't your typical entrepreneur. A wiry kid with a mop of dark hair and a restless spirit, Ed grew up haunted by Halloween. As a child in Killdeer Countryside School, he'd transform into monsters for the school's Halloween night events, donning vacuum-form Casper masks and dreaming of creatures far scarier. I was always the kid who wanted to be the monster, not the hero, Ed would later recall. But Ed's path to monster-making was anything but conventional. A self-taught artist with a knack for sculpting, he'd spent his teens tinkering with clay and dreaming of Hollywood's creature features. In a fictional twist, legend has it that Ed's obsession with monsters was sparked by a childhood encounter at a traveling carnival, where a sideshow zombie lunged at him from a dark tent, leaving him terrified and inspired. Whether true or not, that spark drove him to create. In 1978, at age 23, Ed made a fateful decision. He traded his beloved motorcycle, a beat-up Harley that symbolized his free-spirited youth, for a barrel of latex and some basic molding tools. With no formal training, he started crafting latex monster masks, ghouls, aliens, and demons, with names like Psychedelic Skull and Decaying Zombie. These weren't the cheap plastic masks flooding dime stores. They were hand-sculpted, vivid, and terrifyingly real. Ed sold them at local costume shops and horror conventions, scraping by in a one-bedroom studio that reeked of latex fumes. The early days were lean. Ed was a one-man operation, sculpting, pouring, and painting every mask himself. The horror industry was niche, and Halloween was still a kid's holiday, not the adult obsession it would become. But Ed had a vision. His masks caught the eye of collectors, and soon his creations were coveted by horror nerds and haunt enthusiasts. By the early 1980s, Distortions Unlimited was born, a name that promised boundless creativity and unapologetic terror. Enter Marcia Taube, a pivotal figure in the Distortion story. A talented artist with a sharp mind for business, Marcia started part-time at Distortions in 1983, helping Ed manage the growing demand. She wasn't just a hired hand. She shared Ed's passion for the macabre and his faith-driven work ethic. Their chemistry was undeniable, both creative and personal. By 1988, Marcia became co-owner, and in 1992, she and Ed exchanged vows, sealing a partnership that would redefine the haunt industry. Together, Ed and Marcia transformed Distortions from a mask-making outfit into a monster factory. They moved from the apartment to a small warehouse, hiring a crew of sculptors, painters, and welders. The team was a ragtag group of artists and dreamers, united by a love for horror. Fictional lore whispers of late-night brainstorming sessions where Ed and Marcia sketched creatures inspired by nightmares, fueled by black coffee and classic horror flicks like Poltergeist and Alien. Now, if you will pardon me for a minute duty calls, and I must see who's banging away at the front of the graveyard. So if you please pick back up your shovel and head and meet me back at the next open grave to watch part 2 of my continuous dig into Distortions Unlimited.